They say time is the only thing money can't buy. But they're wrong. Money can buy distractions, and distractions are far more expensive than time, because they convince you still have plenty of it. Adrian believed he had a discipline problem. He was wrong. He had mastered something far more dangerous: the art of looking productive while avoiding the only work that actually mattered. He wasn't lazy. In fact, he woke before sunrise, read productivity books, planned every hour, organized every file, optimized everything except his future. Every morning, he promised himself, "I'll start after I clean the desk. Then, after answering emails. Then, after finding the perfect playlist." Tomorrow had become a profession. The strange thing wasn't that he kept delaying. It was that every excuse sounded reasonable. Just 5 more minutes. Just one more adjustment. Just one more video. That's how years disappear without making a sound. Adrian paused the video. Enough. This time, he meant it. His hand moved toward the laptop, toward the client project that had haunted his desktop for 3 days. Just before his fingers touched the trackpad, an email notification appeared. Quick reminder: organize your cloud storage. It wasn't important, but somehow it felt urgent. Strange. The less important a task was, the easier it became. Organizing folders, renaming files, deleting duplicates. Hours disappeared without resistance. But meaningful work? That demanded courage. Then he heard it. Tick, tick. No. Something wasn't right. The sound felt backwards. Adrian frowned. He walked closer. Maybe the mechanism was broken. Maybe it was old. Maybe there was an explanation. There always is, until there isn't. He laughed nervously. "I'm just tired." That's what exhausted people always say. They blame their eyes, their coffee, their sleep. Never the habits that exhausted them. His phone vibrated, a message from the client. "Just checking in, looking forward to seeing your first concepts." Adrian stared at the screen. His stomach tightened. He typed, "Almost finished," then deleted it. Typed, "Making great progress," deleted that too. Finally, he locked the phone and did nothing. That's when he noticed it. The coffee had gone cold. The sunlight had shifted across the floor. The plant beside the window had lost a leaf. Hadn't it? He couldn't remember. Maybe he had simply lost track of time, but the clock had not. Every excuse, every hesitation, every moment spent preparing instead of creating seemed to feed it, as if something in the room had begun collecting the hours he refused to use. Adrian wasn't superstitious. He believed in deadlines, in caffeine, in burnout, not curses. So he decided to do what every designer does when something doesn't make sense. He tested it. First, he did nothing. No phone, no emails, no cleaning. He simply sat and waited. 1 minute, 2, 5, the clock. Then he clicked a random video. 10 habits of highly successful creatives. Before the introduction had finished, tick, the second hand jumped backward. Adrian froze. Adrian closed the video. The ticking stopped. He opened the client project. Nothing. The clock stayed still. Curious, he minimized the project and opened social media. Tick again. His breathing slowed. It wasn't measuring time, it was measuring avoidance. Somehow it knew the difference between resting and running away. He laughed again, louder this time. Fine, you want work? I'll work. He grabbed the stylus, opened the design file, drew one line, then another. The clock remained silent. Then one thought appeared. Maybe I should check my email first. Just one glance, nothing more. His hand left the stylus, reached for the mouse. Tick, louder than ever. The lights flickered. The coffee mug cracked. Another leaf drifted from the plant. The client notification changed. Final reminder. Adrian looked toward the window. The sun was setting. He couldn't remember seeing the afternoon pass. That's when fear finally replaced curiosity. Not because the clock was cursed, but because it wasn't lying. Adrian refused to accept it. There had to be a loophole, a smarter system, a better routine, a new app. Surely, discipline was just one download away. So he searched, not for courage, but for another shortcut. He bought another planner, another notebook, another course, another promise. Each purchase felt like progress, but progress isn't measured by preparation. It's measured by creation. Then the clock changed. It no longer waited for excuses. It anticipated them. Before Adrian clicked away, the second hand had already begun moving backward. Fear had changed. At first, he feared starting. Now, he feared the clock. And somewhere between those two fears, he forgot why he wanted to create in the first place. That's when he noticed the photograph. It was a picture of himself, taken the day he became a freelancer. Eyes full of certainty, a smile untouched by doubt. He looked at the photograph, then at his reflection in the dark window. It felt like two strangers. Suddenly, the room began aging. Not violently, quietly. Dust gathered across the bookshelf. Paint cracked near the ceiling. The plant collapsed beneath its own weight. The coffee cup finally broke. Time wasn't attacking him. It was simply refusing to wait. Adrian finally understood. The clock had never stolen a single hour. It couldn't. It only revealed the hours he had willingly surrendered, one excuse at a time. And for the first time, he stopped looking at the clock. He looked at himself. Morning arrived, but nothing had changed. The clock still sat on the corner of the desk. The plant was still lifeless. The broken mug still lay on the floor. For the first time, Adrian stopped searching for a way to defeat the curse. Instead, he asked a different question. What if the clock was never the problem? He closed every browser tab, deleted every unfinished to-do list, turned off every notification. Then, he made a promise so small, it sounded almost ridiculous. 1 honest hour, nothing more. No perfect plan, no perfect mood, just 1 hour of real work. The first 10 minutes felt impossible. Every distraction called his name, his phone, his inbox, the urge to just check one thing. But this time, he didn't negotiate. He simply returned to the next brushstroke, then the next, then the next. 1 hour became another tomorrow, then another. Adrian stopped counting inspiration. He started counting promises kept. At the end of each day, he posted only one thing: Hour 1, Hour 2, Hour 7. No speeches, no excuses, just proof that he had shown up. A week later, someone left a comment. I've been watching since Hour 1. You finally convinced me to start my own project. Then another. Are you available for freelance work? Adrian stared at the message, not because he had found a client, but because he had finally become someone worth trusting. Adrian looked toward the clock. For the first time in weeks, he hadn't thought about it all day. It wasn't moving backward. It wasn't moving forward. It was simply a clock. Because the curse had never lived inside the gears. It had lived inside every promise postponed. Baltasar Gracián once wrote, "Do today's task today, and give tomorrow's task time enough. The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." Time was never asking Adrian to be perfect. It was only asking him to begin. Adrian never destroyed the clock. He no longer needed to, because the only thing feeding it was the man he used to be. Every weakness leaves a mark. Every choice writes another line in the Gracián Code. But procrastination is only one of the invisible enemies we carry. There are others, quieter, older, and far more dangerous. In the next chapter of the Gracián Code, we'll uncover another hidden law of human nature, one that has silently ruined kings, leaders, artists, and ordinary lives alike. If today's story made you see yourself, subscribe, because the next lesson might reveal the one weakness you still can't see. Until then, guard your hours. They are writing your future, whether you notice them or not.